Denver's mayor defends the city's stance on immigration as Congress asks questions designed to manufacture a moment.
Do you love illegal aliens more than you love your fellow countrymen?
I love all the residents of the city county.
Mayor,
After 6 hours of interrogation, I sit down with both Mayor Johnston
We didn't create this crisis, we responded to it.
and Republican Congresswoman Boebert.
Denver does have sanctuary policies, and so does the state of Colorado.
Colorado issues a warning about measles, like it's 1950 or something. And as we consider how Washington's decisions impact communities back home, this week's microgiving campaign will help single mothers who are getting off government assistance ready to succeed on their own. Tonight, from Capitol Hill on Next. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston did not want to be here in Washington today, called to testify before Congress under oath about Denver's limited cooperation with immigration agents. For 6 hours, Johnston took questions from House Republicans investigating so-called sanctuary cities: Denver, Chicago, Boston, New York. Johnston defended Denver's policies. Republicans criticized them. Johnston never got caught in a gotcha moment. There was no smoking gun, no new revelation. In fact, it was an immigration debate that will sound very familiar to Coloradans by now, just playing out on the national stage. In a moment, my one-on-one conversations, both with Mayor Johnston and with Republican Congresswoman Boebert, who questioned him. But first, let's go inside the hearing room. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston walked into the House Oversight hearing on Sanctuary City saying he hoped Congress would be interested in a productive discussion about bipartisan solutions to the border crisis.
Americans expect us to do more than point fingers. They expect us to solve problems.
That hopefulness raises questions about whether he's ever watched one of these hearings.
you all have blood on your hands. Do you all hate Donald Trump more than you love your country?
I love my country.
Yes or no?
I love my country.
60 House members signed up for their 5 minutes, with Democrats running cover for the Democratic mayors by lobbing softballs and criticizing the Trump administration.
It's total absolute. They are not making America safer again, and what they are doing is terrorizing immigrant families.
And Republicans aiming for a gotcha moment that would get replayed on cable news and social media. Johnston said Denver is following the law and the city's values by limiting cooperation on immigration enforcement to cases where ICE has a criminal warrant. And he stood by doing that, even when Denver's values strained its budget, when tens of thousands of migrants arrived over the last 2 years, some by choice, some because they were bussed in by Texas's Republican governor.
Denver made a choice as a city, not to hate each other, but to help each other.
All 4 of Colorado's congressional Republicans lined up to question Johnston, outlining their opposition to his policies, but not offering new information or catching him in an awkward moment or prompting the kind of exchange that is likely to get national traction.
Aurora, their crime was increasing while you were hiding.
Congresswoman Boebert got a coveted early speaking slot where she focused on the fact that Denver doesn't restrict communication with federal agencies outside ICE. Congressman Gabe Evans used most of his time to make claims about crime stats in Denver, which Johnston tried to dispute, but Evans reclaimed his time. Congressman Jeff Crank contrasted Denver's limited cooperation with how Republicans in El Paso County allow ICE to take people into custody inside their jail. And Congressman Jeff Hurd asked Johnston if he knew that migrants were moving to Colorado's western slope. Johnston said it was no surprise. Honestly, no surprises is probably the best way to sum up Johnston's 6 hours in the congressional hot seat. Probably the most contentious exchange for Mayor Johnston came when he was asked today to explain whether Denver's refusal to allow ICE agents to pick up people who are wanted on civil immigration detainers inside jails might have contributed to the injury of an ICE agent who got hurt chasing a guy outside Denver's jail. Chris Vanderveen from our 9 News Investigates team explains what happened in that case.
All goes down in less than 30 seconds. He leaves the jail, sees the agents, runs, jumps. Agents follow, they all go out of view, come back into view, more running, and then a tackle. One story.
That right? That refresh your memory?
2 narratives.
I do know about the detainer request. I do know that we provided a notification of release.
A clear divide exposed during a contentious 5-minute interaction between Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio and Mayor Mike Johnston of Denver.
What kind of notice did you give ICE when you released him?
We gave him notification. I'm not sure how long in advance it
1 hour.
was. I do know that.
1 hour.
I do know that there were
1 hour notice.
Technically, 1 hour and 12 minutes. The city sent this email telling ICE Abraham Gonzalez's release was imminent. at 2:47 p.m. on Friday. He walked at 3:59 p.m. This is cooperation, says the mayor.
If you talk about sanctuary as a definition of shielding people from law enforcement, we do not do that.
In 2024, we found the city notified ICE 84 times of an imminent release of an inmate ICE wanted to take into custody, an average of 7 times a month. Problem is, at least according to Representative Jordan, that cooperation isn't good enough.
We have a city ordinance that
Because you're a
governs.
sanctuary city. This is the whole point.
No, sir, I disagree with you.
Without a judge-signed warrant, Denver does not allow ICE agents to take people into custody inside its jails. It's why this happened in the first place. Unable to go in, ICE must wait outside. In this case, in the jail's parking lot.
It's a simple question. You can release him in the parking lot, give ICE 1 hour notice, and they got to send 6 officers to arrest this guy. Or you can say, hey, what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to hold him. You come in and bring 2 officers in, and you turn him over there. Why not do it that way?
ICE claims an agent was injured by Gonzalez during a brief fight. As consolation, Denver's mayor said he'd at least consider some changes moving forward.
If we need to make adjustments to what we do on releases, we'll do that.
Congressman Jordan asked the city why the city didn't give ICE a 48-hour heads up in this case. We can now report why that didn't happen. City records indicate the jail learned a criminal case against Gonzalez fell apart at 11:01 a.m. on Friday. It took a few hours to clear him of any outstanding warrants. It appears Denver waited 43 minutes, not 48 hours, to notify ICE. Kyle.
And Chris, I appreciate your work on this because these issues are often difficult scenarios to boil down into sound bites like we heard in that hearing. People can like or dislike Denver's policy and its impacts in this situation, but they deserve to know the details. So thank you for putting them together for us. Johnston repeatedly defended Denver's ICE notification process today, saying he was not aware of another similar incident with an ICE agent being injured in the 1,200 notices that they've given out over the last 7 years. Though he did pledge to have that conversation with ICE about the way it works. When I sat down with the mayor after his 6 hours of testimony, I asked him whether he might be considered changing that policy. You said that your review of that case might lead to changes in the way that Denver handles those situations. What's on the table there?
Yeah, well, we're just looking at, first of all, for base fact, we gave that notice because we only found out 40 minutes before. So often if a judge makes a decision to suddenly release someone, we may not have 7 days notice. As soon as we knew, we notified them within the hour. 90% of the releases normally happen at our downtown jail. This one happened at Smith Road. So we're determining, is it something about the setup there? Is it something about the communication, about how their officers responded? I've seen the video, and the actual detention seems quite calm, but I don't know where the bite might have occurred. So I think we're not looking to change city ordinance, but if there's something we can change in terms of how or where or when people are released, we're open to see what policies to change. We obviously don't want officers to get hurt.
Why isn't the right thing for officer safety to allow those officers to come in and pick somebody up in a contained environment?
Yeah, and again, before 2 days ago, this was not anywhere on our radar in preparation because we've done this 1,200 times and haven't had this issue, and so we've seen that our system has worked quite efficiently.
But you know that ICE wants access to the jail. They'd like to be able to do it inside.
We do know. What happens is, if you do it inside public spaces in the jail, then you have folks trying to get detained in a lobby. Our city ordinance does not allow us to hand them over in custody. And so what they're saying is hand them over to us in handcuffs. Our city ordinance doesn't do that. But what it does is give them information on time and date. And we're releasing them with no weapons. They've just come out of jail, so they're in a t-shirt and shorts. There are pants. They should not be dangerous in that way. So again, we think it's worked previously. If there are ways to improve that process within city ordinance, we're open to that. But it hasn't been an issue before Friday.
You talked about being dragged here before Congress. You came voluntarily, but you would have gotten subpoenaed as a waste of time and money and a distraction. Now that you've come, now that you've done it, do you feel like it was worthwhile?
I feel like it's important to defend the policies of Denver, the city council, our city employees who I think were at risk of being targeted or attacked or maligned. And so I think it was important to defend what we've done. And I'm really proud of what Denver's done. Denver didn't ask for this, but they did an amazing job responding to it. And I feel like that's something we should be proud of. So for me, I felt like I represented the city and that was important. But if something positive comes out of it at the federal level, we'll keep our fingers crossed, but we're not giving up.
Johnston knows that the scrutiny of Denver's policies and even him personally is not over. City Council has approved spending up to $2 million on an outside legal firm that helped to prepare him for today's congressional hearing and will work on the continuing investigation by House Republicans. Also today, a Republican Congresswoman in the hearing said that she is going to ask the Trump Department of Justice to bring criminal charges against Johnston personally. When I sat down with Republican Congresswoman Boebert after today's hearing, she said that she's not focused on Denver being forced to change the way it handles immigration issues, but she wants it to cost them. Did we learn anything new about Denver's sanctuary policies?
Well, I think we've better established that Denver does have sanctuary policies, and so does the state of Colorado.
El Paso County has got one approach. Denver's got a different approach. In your mind, is it more important for El Paso County to be able to do more cooperation with immigration if that's what they want, or is it more important to have Denver kind of brought in line to force them to be more cooperative? What's the priority?
Certainly, if Denver wants to remain a city that has these ordinances and follow in line with Colorado state sanctuary policies, well, then let them do that. And then the citizens can choose if they want to re-elect that same council. And then if places like El Paso or Douglas County or Elbert County, anywhere else, if they want to have stricter enforcement and coordinate with federal law enforcement officers, then they would have the ability to do so. And we have a president of the United States that says, if you choose to be a sanctuary city, county, state, well, then you're not going to get federal funding because that is against federal law. And I think that's fair.
That would have a ripple effect in your district, right? If Denver loses Head Start funding, road and bridge funding, law enforcement funding, that would trickle down to your district too, right?
Well, maybe my rural counties would actually get some of the funding instead of everything being funneled to Denver.
So much of the focus of the Trump administration on immigration has been on sanctuary cities, right? And I understand they're trying to send a message that this is something that they don't like. But the idea is that illegal immigration is negatively impacting communities across the U.S. Would you welcome the type of enforcement that we see in Denver to come to your district?
Well, Denver is where 42,000 illegal aliens were sent to. So no, you aren't seeing that in Yuma, Colorado. We want to get criminal aliens out. And anyone who is here illegally has broke the law. And of course, like, that needs to be dealt with.
I just want to make sure that I clarify this. But would you welcome ICE coming in to round up folks from your district?
If there were criminal aliens, if there were illegal aliens, absolutely.
How about non-criminal folks who are in the country without authorization?
Anyone who has come here illegally and does not have legal standing to be in our country is here illegally, and there are consequences to that.
You can see my full unedited conversations with Congresswoman Boebert and Mayor Johnston on the next YouTube channel and on the next podcast feed.
And it's really important ahead of that travel to think about protecting yourself against measles.
Measles is back like America hasn't seen in a long time. Colorado's public health leaders say some people need to consider a booster shot. And when you tune into Next, you don't just watch. Tonight, we are building on your $14 million in microgiving by boosting a nonprofit that's helping families get off government assistance and on to success. Next.
Hello, welcome back. We're enjoying a warm Wednesday, a break in between storms and better travel, not just on I-25, but into the mountains. And that's going to be changing in a matter of hours with the next storm on the way. Temperatures in the low to mid 50s today. We're down to 45 currently in Denver. Winds are light out of the south, but will be increasing in advance of this specific storm system, which is already bringing a few light snow showers to the central mountains. And we'll continue to track this as a winter storm warning goes out for heavy snow starting at 8 o'clock tonight. So pay attention to the forecast if you're going into the mountains over the next 48 hours. Dry and comfortable in Denver tonight. We have a nice day tomorrow with rain showers mixing with snow tomorrow night into Friday morning. Friday's high in the 30s. A beautiful weekend. And don't forget, daylight saving begins this weekend. Spring forward. Set those clocks ahead 1 hour.
Welcome back to Washington. Wherever Next is each Wednesday, it's time for another one of your Word of Thanks microgiving campaigns. And this week, we are featuring a nonprofit that helps some of Colorado's poorest families as they fight their way to success and self-sufficiency in life. And until they get there, those families have been relying on federal assistance. And the Center for Work, Education, and Employment is really worried that the coming federal budget is going to slash those benefits. That's why this week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supports that decade-old nonprofit best known as Seaweed. Their goal is to help families, mostly single mothers, who live far below the poverty line as they work to escape poverty through good jobs. To get there, they first help those Coloradans find all of the things that you need to hold down a job, like reliable transportation, stable housing, workforce training. Then they combine that with a food bank that's there with essentials like diapers and wipes. Many of the women who come to Seaweed for help are refugees escaping war and violence from Ukraine, Sudan, from Iraq. Seaweed helps them learn even just the basic computer literacy skills that you need to get and hold a job in America, and then helps them go on to get their GED or to apply for jobs. The end goal is families moving off of taxpayer assistance and into self-sufficiency. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to get the link to donate. Your $14 million in microgiving proves how your $5 donations have added up week after week. I am never going to ask you to give to a cause that I don't support myself. So as always, I will match the first 50 donations of $5 to get us rolling. Almost 4,500 of you have signed up to become recurring monthly donors to the Word of Thanks Fund. What that means is that we've started your recent microgiving campaigns with more than $30,000 in donations each week. It has become the heart of this program impacting Colorado. Use that same QR code or text to get there. Right now, there is a Texas-sized measles outbreak that has doctors in Colorado warning that depending on when you got your measles shot, a booster might be smart. That's next. With measles cases spreading fast in Texas, public health leaders in Colorado are now urging some Coloradans to consider another measles booster shot. There are no reported measles cases in Colorado yet, but state public health leaders are recommending a booster for people who got their measles shot many decades ago. So if you got a single dose of the vaccine between 1968 and 1989, state epidemiologists say that dose you have is currently about 93% effective. You should be good. But if you got the shot in its earliest days before 1968, doctors suggest a booster.
That was not the same vaccine that we are using now, a less effective vaccine. And so there is a recommendation, if you received that vaccine, to receive the updated vaccine to make sure that you are protected.
Since 1989, 2 doses of that vaccine have been standard. The state health department says if you cannot remember your vaccine history all that way back, there's probably no harm in getting another. But whatever you do, talk to a trusted doc first, because there's some people like those with compromised immune systems that should not get the booster because it is a live vaccine. We are back from Washington with your feedback next. The decisions made inside this building impact Coloradans, from immigration policy to who gets federal assistance to buy food from their families when they're struggling. Our Word of Thanks microgiving campaign this week supports Seaweed, a nonprofit in Colorado that helps low-income families work their way off of federal benefits to become self-sufficient. The Center for Work, Education, and Employment often works with refugee families, helping them gain computer literacy and job skills onto a GED and into good-paying work. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to get that link to join me and a bunch of other Coloradans in supporting Seaweed's work. Feedback from Shirley tonight, who writes in, there is a plethora of negativity and divisiveness in our society right now. Word of Thanks offers the opportunity to work together positively instead. That's a choice for us and for these folks too.